The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Friday, June 28th, and today is National Logistics Day. Shout out to all the trappers out there using those logistics. You know what I mean? It's also National Alaska Day.
Baked Alaska.
Yeah, National Insurance Awareness Day. That's Adam. That's probably what happened to you today. National Insurance Day. Oh, man. Adam's car insurance went up today. He is not a happy camper right now, you guys. It's also,
son.
Yeah. It's also National Paul Bunyan Day. That's right. What do you have to say about that, Rico?
The big blue ox.
That's right. The big blue ox. That was like one of the best little cartoons back in the day. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, who I had the pleasure of hanging out with last evening as we watched the debate. And there is a video up there, and we'll show you what that looks like in the middle of the show. But nonetheless, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason. I had a wonderful time last night. Big ups to Anna.
Yes, much love to Anna's. Yes.
Anna's joint, the food was fantastic, and there were a lot of liberal tears being shed last night.
It's rough.
I'm going to try my best to keep things as apolitical as possible when it comes to the presidential race, but my story, lo and behold, is about politics in Ohio, where it looks like the Buckeye State battle for Delta 8's soul will remain in limbo. All right, so Sarah Donaldson of statenews.org reported that the Ohio lawmakers gavelled in and out again Wednesday without sending anything that changes the state's recreational cannabis laws to Governor Mike DeWine. Per the article, members of the House shot down a late-night effort by Representative Bill Seats, Republican out of Cincinnati, who was trying to expose floor amendments to an unrelated bill that would have changed licenses for Level 1 cultivators, create more stringent advertising and packaging regulations, and enacted a public smoking ban, according to legislative text. Even before that, negotiations on the issue burned out in the Senate on Wednesday's marathon session. And it should come as no surprise that a divided Ohio House GOP caucus has been at a stalemate for months now on what to do and whether to do anything when it comes to changing what voters ratified in Issue 2 in November 2023. House Speaker Jason Stevens, Republican on Kitts Hill, said twice this week that he thinks standalone legislation to regulate Delta-8 THC and other hemp-derived products might be a viable pathway. DeWine has been begging the legislature for months to take issue on this, even saying in January that he'd have no issue issue with an all-out ban of Delta-8 THC, a route that other states have gone. Very few regulators of the substance exist in Ohio, which is why it's legal to buy at any age. Stevens said that conversations will continue over the summer, although it's unlikely any serious lawmaking will occur between now and the November election. So it's looking like Delta-8 peddlers live to see another day as Republican infighting once again gets in their own way of doing what they believe is right. The crazy part about all this, in my opinion, is the fact that it exposes how bullshit the right-wing prohibitionist whole Save the Children crusade has been from the jump. Statistically speaking, THC sales have not and will continue not to be an issue in legal states when it comes to kids getting their hands on product. But here in Ohio, like Texas, kids can legally buy Delta-8 from any gas station or strip mall kiosk that they want to. So when your party's governor says that he supports anything getting done on this issue, and both chambers of your state government are being run by your party, and you can't agree as to how it'll happen, and you miss your shot to do anything, this is Virginia all over again. I think the Republicans are just proving that they can win elections off of emotion, but they have no competency when it comes to actually governing. Maybe I'm wrong, and you guys can set me straight if so, but I'm just calling it as I see it. Next time y'all want to bring up ER visit numbers and tie that to kids and their access to gummies and unregulated products that look like candy or products that they are familiar with, remember who you guys put in charge of regulating this shit and what they have or have not done to get it under control. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Let's talk about it.
Delta-8, man. I want to hear what Dr. Mark has to say about this, really.
Yeah, well, it's problematic because when Delta-8 is synthesized from CBD, it's not a clean reaction. And so there are multiple products, when I say products, multiple isomers of THC that are in there, including iso delta-8 and iso delta-4-8. And there could be, there's 32 possible THC isomers. And what Chris Hudala and Josh Swider and a lot of the folks who are running these testing labs that are basically saying that they can tell synthetic THC from natural THC. And what that means is that there are basically little things that the sophisticated analytical lab can basically determine are in there. The problematic thing is that we don't know what the long-term impact of those are on human health. It's likely because they're just THC isomers that they're probably okay. But we really don't know if they're okay or not. And, you know, again, the thing you always hear about Delta-8 is that it's less potent than Delta-9. I think part of the reason for that is because there's all these other things that are in there that kind of dilute it. So until we establish the safety of those byproducts, how can Delta-8 be responsibly regulated? They don't know, like, what impact those have. They don't have a standardized process to produce Delta-8. Right? So without a standardized process, they can't put product specifications on a production batch where they say, okay, we want to have iso delta-8. Let's just on that one, for example. That needs to be in there in less than 0.2% or something like that, right? Based on safety testing, because above that level is problematic. Well, first of all, the testing in humans has to be done to determine that that indeed is problematic. But then someone has to sit down on these Delta-8 producers to say that, hey, you can't have ISO greater than 0.2%. But there's nobody there to basically police and regulate that industry. So those products are out there. And so I would say, so Mike DeWine is probably, again, just probably only as good as the information that he's fed. Yeah. And the information is very incomplete. even for, state-of-the-art operators, they still don't know how to make a clean Delta 8 product. If someone can make a clean Delta 8 product, they ought to send a sample to me or send it to Proverde or Josh down at Infinity so we can get the word out that, yes, there is a clean Delta 8. It's 99.99% Delta 8, and it doesn't have 2 or 3% of these other things in there that we just don't know what their long-term impact is on human safety.
What do you think about this, Dr. T?
Well, I mean, yeah, the issue is that we've been using cannabis, which is Delta 9 and CBD, for thousands of years. And so we have some understanding of cannabis. But when you take this plant and you alter it, then we don't know what's going to happen. And that's really the issue, is that people are taking this plant and they're altering it and creating all sorts of issues with it. Delta 8 might be great, but we've got to take it, we've got to do either the appropriate research with it or have a history of thousands of years of use of it, which we don't. And so, sorry to say, Delta 8 has to be regulated a lot more than cannabis. I think that they should just legalize cannabis, but keep Delta 8, make Delta 8 go through the path of regulation and
through like a FDA process. Is that what you're alluding to, Dr. T?
Yes.
Well, he brings up a really good point, which is that Delta 8 is synthesized, right? It's not extracted from a plant, right? So while CBD is extracted from the plant, crystalline pure CBD isolate goes into a chemical reactor to make Delta 8. So they're basically doing active pharmaceutical ingredient synthesis without the correct regulatory oversight.
I mean, Rachelle, what do you think of this? I mean, you live in a world of Delta 8 out there in Minnesota.
I think you mean neighboring Wisconsin.
Oh,
they
Wisconsin.
banned Delta 8.
Sorry.
Minnesota. But yeah, Wisconsin, they're still rocking the D8 for sure. I would agree. Delta 8 really concerns me, along with all the other like HHC and THCO. But frankly, this is like the government's fault for allowing this to happen by not legalizing cannabis. People are going to get high on whatever they feel they can. And the problem is all the misinformation around Delta 8 and HHC. I saw someone at a local fair selling HHC products, telling people it was medical grade cannabis. And that's just a blatant lie. So do
you think that those people really believe that, or do you think that they know that they're lying? Because I don't think that they're smart enough to know that they're lying to people. I think they're actually they think that they're telling the truth.
I don't know if those people who were saying that knew they were telling the truth. I kind of feel like I don't want to give them the benefit of a doubt, because they also were telling people that you would not fail a drug test if you took a Delta 9 hemp derived THC drink, which is also that's when I stepped in. I was watching everything go down, and a woman asked that, and he was like, "Nah, you'll be fine." And I stepped in and I was like, "Ma'am, actually, like, just in case, if you're under strict drug testing requirements, I would not consume this product." They didn't like that very much.
Oh,
but
I'm sure that they didn't. You blocked their sales.
But they almost got her fired.
I mean, but they're not worried about
Who
that.
knows? It's on probation.
They're not worried about that. They're trying to make that quick buck. They don't care about if that person gets fired or not. They have no liability, no onerous. Like, there's nothing that they can do to come after them for that if they did.
Yeah, definitely not. These guys clearly didn't care. So, and that's the problem with the Delta 8. But again, I blame the government for allowing it to happen.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Cocaine Mitch.
Marijuana Mitch, bro. I don't know why you guys always mess up his name like that.
There's the Republicans that came up with that name for him. I'm just going with y'all, man. Y'all are winning right now.
That's because his wife, how he got that name.
Oh, so his wife, Cocaine Elaine?
Yeah, Cocaine Elaine. Yeah. It's Marijuana Mitch and Cocaine Elaine. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And on that note, we're going to roll right into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
All right, y'all. There we are, and we're back.
Yes.
Coming up on the stage next, it is hard to wipe the smile off of his face after the performance he witnessed last night. Oh, man,
it was so good.
I do not think I've ever seen such pure joy in the eyes and face of Jason Beck as I did last night at the conclusion of the debate. I have to say so myself. Coming to the stage, High Noon Head Honcho, known for smoking the best weed in the world, and he might have been the only Republican in the room last night, let alone the highest.
That's all right.
That's fine. Okay. That's quite okay. It's good to see you in action, man, as always. And Jason Beck, what do you have for us this morning, man?
Oh, man.
It's cloud nine this morning.
Yes. You know, I think I heard it best from someone. They said if you're waking up this morning and you're part of the Biden campaign, you realize that they did a terrible job. They didn't win anything. And President Trump didn't necessarily win anything, but he still came out looking way more coherent and have his stuff together than Biden did. And I feel bad for Biden, in all honesty, because I feel like he's getting, it's rough. But nonetheless, I'm going to roll into my story. We're going to have plenty of time to talk about that because there is a story involving all of that kind of stuff later in the show. But first, you guys, oh man, that's right. New York dispensary launches. Get ready for this, Rigo. Illegal cannabis buyback program, inciting consumers to transition to the legal market with discounts, you guys. Man, oh man, I'm just picturing the old school gun buyback programs back in the day when the cops would buy back guns, no questions, no asked, and I'm just imagining it being like this. But nonetheless, a New York marijuana dispensary is taking steps to help eradicate illicit cannabis businesses that have proliferated in the state by offering discounts and benefits to people who transition to the legal market. Housing Works, the parent company of the state's first legal adult use dispensary, Housing Works, a cannabis co, announced the illegal cannabis buyback program on Thursday. As regulators continue their push to shut down unlicensed operators, the company is providing consumers with incentives to transition to the legal market. From July 1st through September 1st, any person who provides proof of membership at an illicit operator will get a free membership at Housing Works Co.'s, in a quote, co-conspirator program, they're calling it, which includes 25% off their first purchase and a 10% discount on all their purchases for the next year. The membership normally costs $25. This buyback initiative is crucial not only for the health and safety of our consumers, which is always our top priority, but also for the legal business operators and those who have fought hard for a place in New York's legal cannabis market, said Sasha Nugent, director of retail at Housing Works Cannabis Co., told Marijuana Moment in an additional quote. When you purchase from a legal dispensary like Housing Works Cannabis Co., you can rest assured that the purchased products have gone through rigorous state testing and are approved for safe consumption, she said. On top of that, you are supporting an established nonprofit that has relentlessly advocated for the safety of the New York community for over 30 years. As 100% of our proceeds go back to Housing Works. This is a pivotal moment for us, our customers, and New York's legal market, she says. A press email about the new program says that Housing Works, the nonprofit organization that operates the dispensary, has prioritized the safety of the New York community for 30-plus years, dedicating efforts to relentless advocacy, life-saving and housing services, and justice for all. In a quote, they continue to push their mission of safety and community by providing quality, state-tested, and approved cannabis products to those who consume it, it says. Housing Works conducted New York's first adult-use marijuana sales back in December of 2022, and state lawmakers have separately introduced a bill that would allow people in the state to bring legal actions against entities that violate state marijuana laws, potentially empowering ordinary individuals to sue unlicensed cannabis sellers or licenses skirting a state law. A news report earlier this year found that despite state officials levying more than $25 million in fines against unlicensed retailers for selling cannabis products last year, only a tiny fraction of those fines had been collected by either the New York Tax Department or the Office of Cannabis Management. Meanwhile, the governor of New York said recently that the state's escalated enforcement actions against illicit marijuana shops is resulting in significant increase in legal sales at licensed retailers. Governor Kathy Hochul made the comments amid criticism from equity-focused activists over what they see as a corporate takeover of the cannabis market, citing recent reporting about the administration dismissing concerns from state officials about a predatory private equity loan deal the state approved to provide funding for startup cannabis retailers. Certain advocates say Hochul has falsely blamed the legalization law itself for the state's troubles with the illicit market without taking responsibility for the administration's role, and to that end, there has been criticism of the governor's recent ousting of Chris Alexander as executive director of the OCM. In an attempt to rein in the unlicensed sales, the governor in February called on big tech companies such as Google and Meta to, in quotes, do the right thing by taking steps to stop promoting illicit marijuana shops which have proliferated across the state. Meanwhile, last week, New York's marijuana regulators formally approved rules to allow adults 21 and older to grow their own cannabis plants for personal use, and a top New York lawmaker also introduced a bill this month to legalize psilocybin for adults, provided they obtain a permit after undergoing a health screening and educational course, you guys. Well, man, I can't believe this story. They're going there and they're buying back trap weed. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I just wonder how much money these guys are going to lose on this. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. This is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News Hour. What do y'all have to say?
Just like a gun buyback program.
That's what it reminds me of, bro. Like when you'd pull up in the shopping center and like hand the cops a bunch of guns and it's no questions, no ask. You know what I mean? And then they just give you like some tickets to the sporting event or something like that. This is what this reminds me of.
This is crazy. Like, I don't know, man.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I wonder if first of all, my first question is, how are they legally doing this? Because they would be accepting illicit product in their store, and therefore they would have open containers in their store, or the possibility of having open containers in their store. So I think that's a violation compliance-wise immediately on that. Not to mention, if I'm someone that is going to participate in this, I'm going to go and buy a bag of illicit product, smoke the majority of it, bring a little bit of it back, and then get the discount and all of that. Like they didn't mention anything that like the trap weed needs to be in its original packaging, original weight, anything like that. And so this just sounds destined to fail from the beginning, in my opinion.
Yeah, just buy some cheap ass hemp.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly, THCA and bring it back in there.
Pretty much.
I'm like also very confused by this. I think it's a very interesting idea, but to Jason's point, yeah, the compliance piece, I don't know if they have like gifting. Is that allowed in New York? Can people gift cannabis? Is that a thing?
I think you can gift it as long as it's 21 and over, to my understanding.
Okay, so that makes sense. But even to your point about the packaging, right? How does that work?
How are they going to keep it in the store?
And are people incriminating themselves by coming in and being like, I bought this trap weed, give me my discount now, please?
Well, I don't think they'd be entrapping themselves because of New York's laws, they're legally allowed to possess that. So as long as it was within
No questions asked.
Yeah. I would imagine that. But these guys think that they're going to make a dent in the illicit market by doing this. I think that is just a joke all within itself.
That is a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joke.
Right?
Yeah. Why are they they seem to be afraid of competition. Just let them all be legal and have competition. You know, it's not thinking about, if I'm a consumer or a patient and I go and I buy a product, I'm going to go back to another store, give that product to the other store to get something else.
Exactly.
There's no way.
And not to mention, Dr. T, the stuff that you purchased in the trap is probably fresher than the stuff that they're selling in the store.
Yeah, they're not thinking from the consumer's perspective.
They are not
at all.
They're not thinking at all. I agree with that. Rico, you have any thoughts on this?
I think it's stupid.
You think it's stupid?
But I think it's stupid. But I guess they're trying. So I'm just trying to stay positive about. Just use my new mantra. The new energy and everything. I'm just trying to find positive in everything. At least they're trying. And even though we know that this effort is going to be fruitless, they're doing something. So
I mean, but here. Can I tell you what the biggest problem with this whole initiative is, Rico? The biggest problem is that they don't have any like catchy tagline to get people to rally around it, like bring buds back or something like that. Like they need some kind of catchy tagline to be able to market to people this program, and I don't hear any catchy tagline, and people are this is just gonna fall on deaf ears.
Throw the booth off the roof.
See, that's good.
No tagline going to get me to go back to the store and
I like that. Throw the booth off the roof. You said, Dr. T, you said no tagline is going to allow you to participate in something as ridiculous as this.
Yeah, no tagline is going to get me out of my house, go to a store and hand over what I just bought from another store.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Fair enough. I mean, at the same time too, maybe you could go and buy like a shake bag, you know what I'm saying, and dump it into a bag that was like more expensive, and then bring it back into the store.
Dude, like you're going to return a higher quality product that you bought for less for a discount on a lower quality product that's more expensive.
Well, the one thing, New York, they don't have a lot of lawns, so you don't have to worry about people putting grass clippings into the bags when they bring the stuff back.
Good point.
Just saying, out there in the concrete jungle. But on that, we're going to keep this train rolling. We're going to roll right into Dr. Gene Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you should be getting your patient recommendations. That's right, to stay medical. He probably wrote your parents' recommendation because he's been doing it that long. That's right, it is coming up to the stage next. It is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. My headline today is DEA's cannabis rescheduling rules face potential delay ahead of Election Day, from Colorado Politics by Marianne Goodland. Could cannabis be rescheduled from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3 substance by September? According to some experts, those opposed to rescheduling may push for a public hearing that could delay the final rules past Election Day. Some claim that's precisely the point, to not give President Joe Biden a significant boost in his appeal to younger voters. On July 20th, the 60-day public comment period on cannabis rescheduling ends. 30 days after that, the DEA is expected to publish its final rules, which are expected to go into effect on September 20th. More than 25,000 comments have already been received. A spokesman for Smart Approaches to Marijuana, or SAM, the Anti-Cannabis Coalition, asked for a 30-day extension of the public comment period, noting that a rule affecting such a sweeping change warrants more than a 60-day comment period. On the other hand, Colorado has been playing a behind-the-scenes role in helping the federal government with its research into rescheduling. The Colorado Department of Revenue supplied data on business licenses, sales, prices, maps, testing, and social equity statistics. The Colorado Department of Public Health provided the federal government a literature review on cannabis research. The Colorado Department of Public Safety submitted a report on the impact of cannabis. The Colorado Department of Education provided materials and curricula pertaining to cannabis use. And just last week, the Coalition for Cannabis Scheduling Reform hosted a webinar for reporters featuring Governor Jared Polis of Colorado and Governor Wes Moore of Maryland. According to Polis, the rescheduling action by the president is pro-freedom, forward-thinking, reduces taxes, helps our economy, and improves public safety. In opposition, Dr. Libby Stite, a board-certified psychiatrist affiliated with the National Marijuana Initiative, which appears to be anti-cannabis, wrote, "With the increasing potency of THC in cannabis plants and products produced from extracts, I have seen increasing problems with cognition, psychosis, worsening mental health, anxiety, depression, suicide, violence, and cannabis hyperemesis syndrome in my patients." Meanwhile, Dr. Larry Wolk, the executive director of Colorado Department of Public Health, says that the state did not experience any significant issues as a result of cannabis legalization. Quote, "We have actually seen an overall decrease in DUIs since legalization, states Wolk. When compared relative to the potential harm that substances, including alcohol and prescription drugs, can cause the body, it is clear that cannabis poses a lesser risk of harm or abuse." So the debate rages on. Two medical professionals have contradictory assessments of cannabis. There doesn't seem to be much concern for the truth. Very little clinical study has been done on evaluating the safety and efficacy of community-accessible cannabis products. Meanwhile, politics is used as a tool to promote misinformation. Last night I saw two old men bickering like school children. What's sad is that people's lives are at stake. So who are you going to vote for? The one who values politics over health and wellness, or the one who values politics over health and wellness? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High at 9 News.
I love how you ended that on that one, Dr. T. That was.
I had to bring it back to the politics.
Yeah, that was. Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's I mean, when it comes to cannabis policy, I personally think Trump has a better policy than Biden does. That's my opinion. There's a lot of people that will disagree with that and whatnot, but that's my opinion. I don't think schedule.
Why is that, Dixon?
What's that? Well, because we can look at Trump's record. So Trump. And I helped him work on this messaging of when he first came out and said that he was for medical. So therefore that is already established.
He never said that. Hold on. You get live time.
No, he said that during the 2020 campaign when he was first running.
Find that quote for me.
I covered in the article that I read yesterday in regards to this. It highlighted that quote as well. So like I'm not pulling shit out of my ass.
He also says he's against drugs. You know, the problem with Trump is you don't know what he's going to do. I mean, he's just like, it's whatever the flavor is of the moment, right? No. So there's no reliability.
See, I disagree with that. I think just a lot of people don't understand how to speak Trump. They don't understand the language that he speaks.
Yeah, I think you need to go to a planet where people speak his language.
I do. I understand Trump.
It's called double speak, and it's a way for him to say a lot without saying a goddamn thing. Mm-hmm. Right? I brought up the quote. It says, while Trump has spoken out in favor of medical cannabis legalization on several occasions, he released signing statements on spending legislation stipulating that he always reserves the right to ignore a long-standing rider that prohibits the Justice Department from using its funds to interfere with state legal medical programming. So he says one thing and signs the exact opposite.
right.
And I'm not saying Biden's any better, you know.
No, Biden doesn't know shit.
Well, hold on. Because we also have Trump, who signed the Farm Bill into law. Okay, and that was basically legalizing cannabis across the board, even though, you know what I'm saying?
It's getting everybody buying Delta 8 and making
Yes.
Well, hold on, Dr. T.
I think that's how it's being framed.
THCA.
Like, Donald Trump is the Delta 8 president.
What about
Donald Trump
THCA?
is the Delta 8 president.
Yeah, exactly. It's misinformation on THCA. THCA is a component in every single cannabis plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Donald Trump is Delta 8 and Joe Biden is THCA. Which one are you gonna have?
I don't know. I would flip those two. I would flip that too. I would say Trump would be THCA and Biden would be Delta 8 because Biden was definitely on some type of synthetic last night with all of his energy boosts.
No. Biden got the full effect on a spray pack where Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is unregulated. You have no idea what the fuck is in that thing. I think that's the correct assessment.
What were your
Delta
thoughts?
8.
What were your thoughts, Rachelle?
I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, on the one hand, Biden's pushing this rescheduling thing pretty hard, but like, it's not the end all be all, as we'll talk about in my story. But I do believe there's going to be a holdup on the rescheduling, whether it's lawsuits or some kind of pushback. Like, I would not be surprised.
I agree with that assessment. Yeah.
100%,
Rochelle. I agree with that assessment. Dr. Mark, I already know how you feel about all this. Do you want to comment on this, or you want us to move along?
I just think that they need to end cannabis prohibition. You can't put a plant that people can grow themselves into Schedule 3. It doesn't belong dispensed by a pharmacist.
I agree.
And yeah, I mean, I'm a firm believer, I think we've said this before, is that if cannabis prohibition ends and people have unfettered access to high quality cannabis and cannabis products, the market for recreational synthetics derived from hemp or anything else, it's going to go away.
Without a doubt.
People have access to artisan quality cannabis like NorCal cannabis, the cannabis that I smelled at Grateful Dead concerts in the 80s. If they have access to that, you don't need Delta 8 or HHC or any of this other crap.
Question, Dr. Mark. When you said NorCal Cannabis, were you referring to the cannabis company that's called NorCal Cannabis, or are you just referring to NorCal Cannabis in general?
No, just kind of general.
I just wanted to make sure, because some of our viewers in here do work for NorCal Cannabis, so I just wanted to make sure that we were distinctifying that.
Hey, if it's in Northern California, it could be their weed.
It could be very, very possible. Very, very, very possible, Dr. Mark. And on that, we are going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back. Get ready for the 2X Monster Truck Live Tour, coming to San Bernardino NOS Orange Event Show Speedway on June 22nd, and in Northern California at Watsonville at the Ocean Speedway on June 29th. Make sure you head over to www.2extremeracingseries.com for all of the tickets for this family fun event. See all the sparks coming on the bottom right now? Where the brand is?
Maybe so, maybe not.
And we're back.
Where are they located?
Stop what you're doing.
What's that?
Stop what you're doing.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I apologize, you guys. Stop what you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button as well. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Make sure you also subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And if you want to see the debate coverage that we filmed last night over at Anna's Joint here in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, right next door to this amazing flower shop named Catalyst, where it's all about weed for the people. Make sure that you look for that thumbnail. We posted the link into the chat. I'm sure we can post that link into the chat again. But make sure that you check this out. We had a great time talking with everybody about this and watching the show. So make sure you check that out on our YouTube channel. It's currently up now. The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Our next correspondent levels out our high-functioning Friday programming by way of education, making sure we all go home knowing that there is no truth in boof. He's a highly recognized organic chemistry expert, specializing in natural product chemistry, and he's also the professor, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Thank you, Rico. Happy Friday, everybody.
Also, congratulations on the victory last week, since we didn't talk about that. I know you guys got one. I got another one in with Boston. So, congrats on NBA championship.
The Celtics, yes.
Yeah, the C's got it in.
Yes, that's our big, metropolitan area here in New England, right? The Boston metropolitan area. Okay, so let's see. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everyone's having a good week. Hope you got good weather where you're at and planning on going outside. It's gonna be a beautiful weekend here in Vermont. Hopefully it's a beautiful weekend where you're at. My story today comes from the Green Market Reporter, and it is entitled Michigan Bans Coconut Oil in Cannabis Vapes. Growing evidence suggests that the oil may pose health risks when vaporized or aerosolized in the lungs. This is a story that was originally reported in Crain's Detroit, written by Dustin Walsh. The Michigan Cannabis Regulatory Agency is moving to ban a potentially dangerous oil from the state's cannabis industry. On October 1st, the agency will require testing for medium-chain triglycerides, or MCT oil, on all inhalation products such as vape pens, after growing evidence suggests that the oil may pose health risks when vaporized or aerosolized into the lungs. MCT oil is commonly made from coconut oil and to a lesser extent from palm kernel oil, both of which are approved for consumption by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. But what this article doesn't mention is it's approved for ingestion, for eating, not for vaporizing into your lungs, right? It's a completely different mode of administration. But new research shows that smoking oils, sounds terrible, right? Have adverse effects on lung function, like vitamin E acetate, as previously used as a diluting agent in the industry prior to the state banning it in 2019. From public health and safety standpoint, the potential for adverse effects with MCT oil underscores the importance of adherence to safety guidelines in product development. said CRA Executive Director Brian Hanna in a statement. Companies participating in Michigan's cannabis industry must prioritize respiratory safety when formulating or using inhalable products, opting for ingredients that have been thoroughly evaluated for their compatibility with lung health. I look forward to when our state new reference laboratory is up and running, advancing the health and safety of Michigan for Michigan cannabis consumers with advanced testing of things like the diluents that are used in vape pens. Michigan follows other cannabis states like Colorado in banning the use of MCT and distillates for vapes and other inhalable products. Jonathan Kane, the Chief Science Officer of Lansing-based processor Lion Labs, says competitors use MCT oil in their distillate to increase their margins by lowering the amount of distillate, which created by dissolving expensively grown cannabis. I don't know about that, but producers who use MCT oil in their products are essentially creating more oil by combining a non-cannabis additive to the distillate, which drives their overall cost down, resulting in greater profit. Well, isn't that surprising that the motivation for shady operations in the cannabis industry is to increase one's profit? To move from a state regulatory body comes from amid growing concerns raised by the one of the state's cannabis testing labs, Infinite Chemical Analysis Labs in Ann Arbor. Josh Sviter, we've talked about Josh before, CEO of the California-based company, has been making noise in the industry for a few months, alleging many in the state's tops vape pen makers were using MCT to thin or dilute their cannabis oil to boost profit margins. Study shows that you should not be inhaling MCT oil, Zwiter told Cranes. It's a public safety issue. As a scientist, I came into this industry because I believe in cannabis and public safety, which is why I'm here. Safety testing facilities in Michigan work for the public, not the brands, because they are the gatekeepers to the safety of the public. We have been working on this project for 2 years and no one has taken action. I truly think the public has the right to know what they're putting into their bodies. Under the rules set forth by the CRA, cannabis companies are required to list the ingredients, including MCT oil, under packaging, but most did not. Zwiter's company tested more than 120 vape pens that were purchased off store shelves by 3 different organizations in the industry to determine whether some of the best-selling products contain MCT oil. Those organizations, 2 of which are operators in the industry, are asked not to be named. Infinity Chemical ran the tests of the products and reported to Cranes earlier in the month. Of the 14 samples tested from Mount Morris-based Sky Labs performed by Infinity, 2 of them test positive for MCT oil. Denise Policella, attorney for Sky Labs, insists that Sky Labs did not know their products contained MCT oil because the processor does not cultivate cannabis, but buys distillate for vape brand Bossy and from other cultivators. What I can tell you is that Sky Labs does not produce its own oil, so the distillate containing MCT was not produced at Sky Labs. It was sourced from elsewhere, Policella wrote in an email to Cranes. I am honestly much less concerned about products manufactured in a licensed regulated facility than I am about all out-of-state hemp-derived CBD and THCA crap. In the article, that is on party store and gas station shelves right now. That stuff is full of pesticides and who knows what else, and is not regulated or tested in any way. Skylab has been on the outs with the state since regulators before. In July of last year, the CRA issued a recall of Skylab's Flight brand vapes for failing compliance testing and potentially using illicit market product. In lab testing, Skylab recalled cartridges. Concentrates were determined to contain a chemical residue of several banned substances, including an insecticide, bifenthrin, and the fungicide myclobutanil, more commonly known as Eagle 20. Skylabs isn't alone. Several other processors failed MCT oil testing performed by Infinity Labs, including Chicago-based, publicly traded, multi-state operator Cresco Labs, really, West Bloomfield-based PureX, MKX Oil Company, Michigan Investments, 10 Muhammeds, and a handful of other smaller brands. None of the other operators responded to Crane's inquiry about the use of MCT oil. Some of the operators were among the top-selling vape brands in the state. So get that? The top-selling vape brands in the state have MCT oil in it. Crazy, right? Some of the operators are amongst like I said, the top-selling, according to Headset. MKX Oil, for example, sold nearly $14.7 million worth of vape pens in 2024. Holy shit, that's the current year. They've already sold over $14 million of these vape pens in this year. This is crazy, right? And Muhammad's has sold nearly $8 million worth of vapes also already this year. Aussie's only sold $1.6 million. So my God, I mean, again, these vapes typically retail between like $60 to $80 for a vape, for like a half-gram vape. So you can do the math and look to see how many vape pens they sold. It's a lot. The number's large. But those vape brands are well below the state average of the $18.25 per vape cartridge. Oh, I guess their cartridges are a lot cheaper in Michigan. I don't know. Cartridges here in Vermont are much more expensive. Skylab's Bossy brand sells for $7.44 a cart. So the reason why they can sell these carts so damn cheap is because they're cutting their oil with MCT, which is super cheap. When you see a gram vape pen for $6, those vapes tend to show up in more testing for MCT than other ones. So again, that's the ugly story from Michigan, is that people are cutting their vape pens with MCT oil. And let me just, so MCT stands for medium chain triglycerides. It's made in a fractionation process from coconut oil. And how many of you cook? I'm sure everybody cooks, right? So you ever put oil into a pan, right, and you heat it up, you'll notice two things. You'll notice, first of all, the oil doesn't boil like water, right? You don't boil oil, right? The molecules are just too big. They're too big to basically boil and vaporize. Like water is this little molecule. These medium chain triglycerides are big molecules. I just knocked over my water cup. So what happens is they don't boil, they smoke, right? So when oil reaches a smoke point, that's the temperature at which, at that concentration of oxygen in the air, oil undergoes what's called thermooxidative degradation, right? So when you're firing a vape pen and you have MCT oil in there, you're not boiling the MCT, you're basically degrading it. So if you put coconut oil, again, into a fry pan and you start heating it up, you'll see when that oil reaches its smoke point, the oil is going to start to smoke, because the oil is reacting with the oxygen in air, and it's making very noxious compounds called aldehydes and acids. And these aldehydes and acids aren't things that you want to breathe into your lungs. A number of years ago, there was a scare about lipoid pneumonia, which is what happens when you breathe in too much paraffin. And typically this is an exposure issue for folks who work at like Yankee Candle. Like if you're working in a facility where there's a lot of aerosolized paraffins, you could end up breathing a lot of that fatty material into your lungs, and that's when you suffer from lipoid pneumonia. You will not get lipoid pneumonia from sucking on an MCT vape pen because the vape pen is not hot enough to basically aerosolize all of that. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be degrading the MCT, and you're going to be basically inhaling degradation products, which aren't good anyway. So the notion of lipoid pneumonia, probably not the issue, but certainly MCT should not be put into vape pens. People were putting MCT into vape pens because they needed a way to keep CBD from crystalline. CBD is a crystalline solid. You have to dissolve it to put it into the cartridge of the vape pen. So they were using things like vitamin E acetate, right, or MCT oil. Those are not good. The vape pen is supposed to mimic when you smoke cannabis. And when you smoke cannabis, the hots on the end of the joint is heating up and decarboxylating the cannabinoids. And as you draw air through the joint, you're basically drawing vaporized cannabinoids and terpenes into your lungs. You're trying to reproduce that in a vape pen. So while it's okay to basically breathe in the terpenes and breathe in the cannabinoids that are in cannabis, it's in a particular ratio. You can't just start adding all kinds of terpenes in there, because now your terpene ratio to cannabinoids is going to be way unbalanced. So the best vape pen is made by a real cannabis extract with no additives. If you have to put additives into your cannabis extract to turn it into a vape pen, find a better way of extracting. You have to extract it to make an oil that's actually a liquid, and there's ways of doing that we won't go into today on the High at 9 News, but needless to say, don't be putting vape or MCT oil into vape pens, because it's not good. And that's my story today, and love to hear what you guys have to say.
Man, so no more coconut oil in vapes. How many other states do we know that ban coconut oil in
Colorado?
Colorado. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Do you see this happening in more states? Do you think this is going to spread to other states too, Dr. Mark?
Well, I think, yeah, I think it would be really good if there would be sort of like some process standardization. So if you extract cannabis, right, if you extract dried cannabis that you would put in your bowl and you extract it, the extract typically comes out like what we used to call shatter, right? Because the principal ingredient in cannabis is THCA, not THC, but THCA. THCA is a crystalline solid. When you extract out all the other minor components from cannabis, it turns it into what's called an amorphous solid. An amorphous solid is typically what we would call shatter or pull and snap kind of, kinds of extracts. Now, if you were to extract the same weed, extract it as fresh frozen. Remember, fresh frozen weed is going to have a much higher terpene content, right? And that higher terpene content is going to result in now a liquid extract. So when you do what's called a fresh frozen run or make live resin, typically, when you use the same weed that's dried, when I say dried, that means stems will snap. That means you could put it in your bowl and smoke it. That is going to give a shatter, but the fresh frozen version of that, because there's so much more terpenes in there, is now going to give what we call a sauce, right? And the sauce is going to be that THCA, but now it's going to be dissolved in all of the terpenes that are fugitive during the drying process. So when you dry cannabis, when you take it from its fresh form to its dry form, you lose a lot of terpenes. Because you're not losing those terpenes in freshly frozen cannabis, now that extract is going to be ready to go into a vape pen. And that vape pen is going to taste just like the cannabis from which it was derived, because you're taking a native extract without adding artificial terps, without adding any diluents, and you're taking that extract and putting it right into the cartridge. That's how vape pen should be made. That vape pen will be, again, very tasty, will taste just like the cannabis from which it's derived, right? But because there's so much THC distillate that's out on the market, and THC distillate has been stripped of its terpenes and its essence and its flavor, now there's a market for what do we do with that distillate? Well, let's put that distillate, reincorporate some cannabis terpenes, make it taste like cannabis a little bit, and oh yeah, let's dilute it so we turn 5 kilograms into 10 kilograms so we can make $50 billion as opposed to only 25 billion, right? So there's a lot of motivations for people to dilute the most expensive ingredient, because we're in the cannabis market, commoditization is happening, and it's a race to the bottom. The lowest producer will win. The lowest cost producer will win. So there's all kinds of pressures for people to lower their production costs. You'll lower your production costs by putting in some cheap filler like MCT.
You know what, Rico? Oh, go ahead, Dr. T, please.
I was going to say, great explanation, Mark. I just wanted to add that, they're chasing the additives. I mean, they're going to make MCT oil illegal, and then the operators are going to find another oil to put in there. So the regulators don't get it. They just have to say, if you're going to make a vape cart, you can't add anything to it, period. You just have to add whatever extract you get from the pen.
Right. There are hemp farmers now, Dr. T, who are basically growing hemp for the terpene content, harvesting the terpenes in a steam distillation, and then plowing the rest of the biomass back into the field. So they're like, the hell with the cannabinoids. We want the terpenes and we want the flavors. So those terpenes and those flavors are now available to then add to vanilla distillate. So distillate, THC distillate, has no flavor whatsoever. Ideally, it has no flavor. Some of it actually tastes pretty boofy. But now, terpenes that are native to cannabis can be added to a THC distillate, and you can dilute those and make vape pens out of them. But I think the best vape pen tastes like the cannabis from which it was derived, and should have the natural complement of not just the terpenes. And we learned last week that it's not all about terpenes. There's these other tropical sulfur-containing compounds and other things that the guys at Abstracts are finding. So those are going to be in the proper proportions in a cannabis extract. A live resin extract is kind of like a photographic picture of the cannabinoid and terpene profile at harvest. And you want to basically translate that into your vape pen cartridge, because now that vape pen cartridge is going to be strain specific. It's going to have the terpenes that were in that cannabis and not some other cannabis grown in some other state. So, yeah.
So one quick question for you two doctors while we're on this is, this sounds like a similar reason that they're banning this is a similar reason why they, like why you would ban vitamin E at the same time. Is this like a close relation to a similar reason?
Well, yeah, actually, vitamin E acetate led to the Valley crisis. So vitamin E acetate is like, it doesn't get absorbed. It causes all kinds of issues. If you understand how delicate your alveoli and the interface between your lungs that delivers oxygen into your blood, it oxygenates your blood. Guess what? You don't have oxygen in your blood, you're dead. So you're basically inhaling these molecules and messing up that interface that oxygenates our blood. I don't know, Dr. T, that just seems like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
It
they
really
all
does.
cause inflammation, but vitamin E acetate clogs up your lungs more than MCT oil, but MCT clogs it up a bit too, and they all do. I mean, smoking causes inflammation, or inhaling, oils causes inflammation. So yeah, it's just we don't have proof that it doesn't work or it causes problems except for the vitamin E acetate. We don't have great proof on MCT oil. They're sort of saying, well, MCT oil too, and then it's like, well, what other oil are you going to ban? Are you going to ban the cannabinoids? It's like they just have to.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen this, Dr. T, but people have talked about using cannabis in vaporizers, right? I mean, first of all, vaporizers, it's water-based, right? You ever try cleaning your bong out with water? It doesn't work too well, right?
Right.
So in order for you to put cannabinoids into water, you're going to need surfactants and emulsifiers.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're adding surfactants and emulsifier. Oh my God. Having emulsification happening in your lungs or breathing surfactants into your lungs, just not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. Just smoke weed or smoke live resin pens, right? That's basically what the moral of the story is.
So I guess
Live resin is okay. Live resin is what's coming off of the cannabis plant when you smoke it, right? You're getting that burst of terpenes and decarboxylated cannabinoids. So if you're trying to reproduce that in a vape pen, the only thing that's appropriate to go into the cartridge is a live resin extract. Period.
So Rico, I guess if you were going to create a vape line using MCT oil for the trap market, you could you could just do a OT Genesis collab and call it "You've Got to Cut It."
You got to cut it.
Mm-hmm.
You got to cut it. Yes. Shout out to OT Genesis, man.
Yes. Let's roll into Rachelle. We're overtime right now.
Let's do it, y'all. So up next, she's a cannabis and psychedelics reporter and editor of Green State. Yeah, Green State. I was about to mess it up like Jason does every week.
Whoa,
Sorry about that. And the undisputed Lego champion of the industry. And y'all know what? Next up, she's rebuilding our faith in cannabis news one block at a time. It's Rachelle Gordon.
Thank you. I really like that. I feel like every week it's like a better and better intro. I like the restoring faith in cannabis journalism one block or brick at a time. That's awesome. So thank you so much, Rico. I know that a lot of attention's being paid right now to the presidential election. I know you guys covered yesterday Marijuana Moment's great analysis of where both Trump and Biden stand. I know you all had a lot to say during and after the debate today. The memes have been magnificent.
Oh, yes.
But I want to talk about a little talked about story from yesterday, from right before the debate, where Biden took aim at Trump over cannabis. So let's dig into it real quick. So the 2024 presidential election cycle is in full swing. Last night, President Biden and former President Trump held their first of two scheduled debates, trading jabs over virtually everything from immigration to their golf games. And while cannabis reform did not come up on stage, the Biden administration quietly took aim at Trump over the issue right before the event began. A new webpage touting Biden's position on cannabis popped up on the Biden-Harris campaign site. The headline reads, "Joe Biden is reforming America's approach to marijuana." The page celebrates the Biden administration's federal cannabis possession pardons, as well as the action taken on reclassifying the plant under the Controlled Substances Act. The campaign calls out Trump on the page, saying, quote, "Donald Trump opposes marijuana reform and, as president, made the failed approach worse," unquote. The site points to former Attorney General Jeff Sessions' decision to rescind the Cole memo, an Obama administration era policy that protected legal cannabis states from federal interference. Trump has been largely silent on the campaign trail when it comes to cannabis reform, but the former president allegedly disagreed with Sessions' actions, according to Senator Cory Gardner. And while Trump has previously said individual states should have the right to make their own decisions on marijuana, he has also linked genetically engineered cannabis with gun violence. President Biden has leaned into the cannabis conversation, hoping to win over young voters as well as Black and brown communities. However, the administration has gotten pushback over the perceived conflated impact of cannabis pardons. Additionally, and this is what I found very interesting, one of the FAQs on the campaign's cannabis page asks, what does it mean that Joe Biden made marijuana a Schedule III drug? It's important to note that rescheduling has not yet been made official and that it could be months or even years before any decision is final one way or the other. So while the Biden-Harris campaign is certainly the most vocal about cannabis reform, it's possible that Trump could come out swinging. It's unclear whether the cannabis issue will make or break the November election, but based on the current president's approach, it's clearly important enough. So, wrote this for Green State. I thought the webpage was very, very interesting, specifically how they attack Trump on this. And I'm not a fan of Trump or Biden, to be totally frank with you guys, but I did feel like it was a little bit of a reach what the Biden campaign was trying to allege against Trump. Sure, Trump hasn't really come out, but Jason, I'm sure you can answer this. Were there more cannabis arrests and convictions under Trump or Biden? Like, do you have any stats on that?
I don't have any stats, but I have some own personal stats because I have been raided 3 times by the DEA, Rachelle. And so I have been raided once under the Bush administration and twice under the Obama administration, never under the Trump administration and never under the Biden administration.
Very interesting indeed. Yeah, I'm not sure if they can come out anything against Trump. They said that he doesn't have any new ideas.
Well,
as well.
Here's
on cannabis.
Here's my thing is that let's just look at the record. Is that Joe Biden created the 94 crime bill. Okay, he's the creator of the 3 strikes law. And what he wants to do with cannabis is move it to Schedule III, which I personally believe is extremely restrictive. There's a number of people that have this same analysis in regards to and believe that it's handing the cannabis industry directly over to the pharmaceutical industry. There's other people that'll say to that is that they want to make sure that they have access and whatever, but moving it to Schedule III to me doesn't mean that those people are going to have access. So I'm not sold on that argument whatsoever. And Trump, on the other hand, he has came out in favor of medical, and on top of that, everyone thought that all of the cannabis dispensaries were going to get raided because he appointed Jeff Sessions as the Attorney General, but yet there were no raids under that tenor, nor under then Attorney General Andy Barr. So I'm not buying all of that. And then people want to point to his comments in regards to that he said that he wants to execute drug dealers. I'm not buying that's what he means. What he actually means is like kingpins of organizations, people that are smuggling large amounts of fentanyl and things like that are actually killing Americans here. That's what he's referring to. He's not talking about your average trapper with a box of peas. Okay, I'm not buying that type of argument for a second. And at the same time too, he's the one that signed the Farm Bill. And he also signed NAFTA 2.0, which also has cannabis in NAFTA 2.0 as part of the free trade agreement. So there you go. There, you guys can make up your own mind. Also, too, criminal justice reform. President Trump has done far more on that. So you guys can make up your own mind.
Does he actually read the stuff that he signs, though? I think we've come to consensus that like he doesn't really read the shit that he signs. So. Who knows? I have to push back on that, Jason. Like who knows? Like Donald Trump is a wild card. I don't think that he has any real beliefs. He just wants to see what is most beneficial for him. And if you make a deal with him, you're going to get whatever the hell you want.
Well, his book is called.
He needs to do to stay out of jail. Stay out of jail. That's his modus operandi. He does not go to jail if he's elected president because he'll flush all the investigations, right? So his number one thing is, how do I keep myself out of jail? How can I use the presidency for that?
Exactly. I think a huge missed opportunity last night for Biden, amongst many others, was Donald Trump railing against like the water pressure and all that shit. Like all he had to say was like, "Yo, if you weren't flushing down all these classified documents, your water pressure would have been fine." It had nothing to do with what the liberals are doing.
I mean, in all fairness, Biden almost halfway missed half of the debate.
Half.
Just saying.
90%.
You see, I mean, did you count how many times he closed his eyes? And I couldn't believe that these cameramen were actually showing that, like that their transitions weren't faster on such a major network like CNN. I was shocked by that.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
I don't know. Adam, did you watch the debate at all? You did not. Adam did not watch the debate. I would have loved to see what Adam had to say about the transitions that they were doing.
Remember when Bernie was running against Hillary? They were kind of like neck and neck. In fact, I think Bernie was doing better in the primaries than Hillary. Mm-hmm. Remember that?
Yeah.
The Democrats sandbagged Bernie Sanders.
Went to the White House. Mm-hmm. Went to the White House on a Saturday. It was a Saturday. I'll never forget it. Mm-hmm. And Obama took him out to the woodshed and told him, "This is her election, right? You're out."
Yep.
And from that point forward, Bernie was out. Mm-hmm. Someone needs to take old Joe to the woodshed, and they need a brokered convention with a new candidate, because this guy, I wouldn't hand the keys to the White House to either of these gentlemen, right?
I don't even think they need to do that. They need to just take him out the woodshed and just like leave him there, because
and
back to the house.
and I haven't got to see it yet.
Right.
And I haven't got to see it yet, but I have seen a lot of buzz on the internet and from a lot of people within the cannabis community that I guess apparently RFK Jr. did a video in regards with the debate, and people are really enjoying that, and so I want to make sure to encourage people to check that out as well.
Yeah, man, it's all bad. Mm-hmm. So, thank you for covering this, Rachelle.
We do have one super chat. We do have one super chat going on. We have Nick Bradley with his very first super chat of $1.99. Thank you so much, Nick. We're gonna put that towards the Wagyu Fund. Nick. He says Trump is hit 1 ER 2.0. That's what he says. I don't know. That's a 1, bro. Whoa. I don't think. I'm not sure. And shout out to Anna Lewis with a super chat coming back in. And Anna Lewis says, "That's stupid, Nick." Nick, it is stupid. But we're glad, we're happy for the $1.99. We appreciate you both. Thank you so much for all of that, super chatness. Let me just roll into this last story, you guys. Do you guys have to run, or are you guys going to be able to stay here for a second?
I gotta run soon.
Okay.
Could you wrap it in 5?
I'm gonna try to get this as fast as I can, but do me a favor, stop me at 2 minutes. The legal battle erupts over Aerodontac's first cannabis store, you guys. This is in your neck of the woods, Dr. Mark. 3 shareholders in a corporation that opened the North County's first retail cannabis store last fall in Saranac Lake have filed a petition in state Supreme Court accusing the shop's majority owner of his general manager of mismanaging the business, failing to follow proper bookkeeping procedures, and violating state regulations. The state legal dispute centers on the operations of Evolate ADK, which in October became the state's 27th retail cannabis storefront when it opened in a small shopping plaza on Lake Flower Avenue, Route 86, about 1.5 miles south of the center of Saranac Lake Village. The business has been providing deliveries for about 5 months before the store opened, and a petition filed recently on behalf of Douglas Buttdorf and Thomas Gorsuch and Eduardo Suarez, who are shareholders shareholders in the corporation that established the business. North County Roots Incorporated is seeking a court order dissolving the business and liquidating its assets. They allege that Adam Hayner, a North County farmer who is a 51% shareholder in the business, and his general manager, Eli Emery, have misappropriated assets and monies and refused to pay shareholders dividends and removed them from their roles as directors of the corporation. In a statement on Monday, Emery characterized the legal filings as a baseless lawsuit brought by 3 shareholders that have hurt feelings. In a quote, "We are deeply disappointed by the unfounded and outrageous claims made in this lawsuit and are confident that the truth will prevail," Emery said. North County Roots has operated completely above board in all operations since the beginning and will continue to do so despite this nonsense, they say. The petition filed in Essex County describes how those 3 shareholders, all Plattsburgh residents, formed North County Roots back in 2015 to enter New York's medical cannabis industry back in 2022. They said Hayner approached them about partnering in a retail cannabis business, and the involvement of Hayner, who was a felony conviction of cannabis distribution, allowed them to apply for a conditional retail cannabis license under the state's Office of Cannabis Management social equity licensing system that has given priority for the state's first retail licenses to those with past marijuana convictions. The business license is up for renewal in January, and it's unclear whether the allegations outlined in the court case may jeopardize their standing with the state regulators. And the petition accuses Hayner of using vehicles he personally owns to make cannabis deliveries, which they said violates state regulations. And the plaintiffs also accused Hayner and others of failing to present draft standard operating procedures to the board of directors for approval. In addition, they claim not to have received bookkeeping records that can audit or a trusted profit and loss statement, including copies of expenses, receipts, contracts, and invoices. And this article goes on and on and on and on and on. We're not going to be able to finish this article, but you can finish it directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. Any thoughts on this, Rico or Rachelle?
I mean, it's messy. This is messy.
Yeah.
And, I have to choose my words carefully right here because we work with one of the people. I'll just leave it at that. I can't really comment on this. I have to recuse myself from the conversation because I'm actually working with one of these people that is named in this.
Fair enough. So this is a social equity store, and it sounds like the social equity applicant is the person that is in control of the store, and these investors are claiming this misappropriation of the funds. Am I correct on those? Can you say yes or no to that, Rico?
From what the article says, yeah, yes, but
okay, that's all. That's
I can't really give my opinion on this one. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. That's all. Yeah, but I can confirm that they do have they have card license.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I do encourage everyone to go and read this because this thing goes on and on and on for a little while. So I do hope people go and read this. Dr. Mark, you have any thoughts on this?
It's Saranac Lake.
Saranac Lake. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got please.
Yes. It's a shit show over in New York. Actually, in upstate New York, there's quite a bit of native dispensaries. So yeah, there's a thriving business over there. So who knows?
I mean, New York can barely open up all the stores, and now we have people trying to close them. So I don't know. What? Any thoughts on this, Rachelle? Before we wrap this up,
cannabis is a messy game.
Fair enough. That's a great way to end the show. I like that, Rachelle. Cannabis is amazing.
Yeah. Politics is a contact sport.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, Rico.
On that note, hope they get their shit together. Let's just keep it that. Mm-hmm. Keep it at that. We have faith in you, New York. You will figure your shit out at some point.
I don't
in all these stories.
I'm not buying that hype for a second.
Yeah. We'll see. But thank you all for joining us for yet another week of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Oh, that's my place here. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen. We had a big Nick in the house today with his first one. Can we get a double air horn on that one?
There we go.
And Anna is always showing love. Make sure you guys, if you guys are in Long Beach, man, make sure you guys stop by Anna's joint. The food is fucking fantastic. I was very, very impressed. And that's not me just saying that to show love. If it was terrible, I just wouldn't say shit. But it was fantastic. Gotta say that. We had a great time last night. Thank you for hosting us. All right. So everybody else getting there. If you guys want to be a live super fan as well, throw us a couple $, man. We can get your comments posted too, and you can talk a little shit as much as you want, and buy Jason some lunch money.
Yes.
Get some lunch money so you can buy more cold cuts. He's into that.
You know what it is.
Yes, everybody else, much love to you guys too, to our live audience and online supporters, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Thank you. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping the lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason we read these stories every single day. Thank you. It has been Friday, June 28th, 2024. Cancer season is in full swing, motherfuckers. And the show is over. You've all been blessed with top industry headlines.
Rico.
And the week's top headlines. What's that, Jason?
Rico, we do have to make one quick dedication. Earlier this week, the cannabis industry did lose Chef Jay. I know a number of people knew Chef Jay.
Yeah, that hit hard, man.
Yeah,
yes,
and so we want to make sure that we dedicate this show to him and his legacy and his family and everyone, and offer our condolences.
Yeah, and everybody who knew Jason Hartley, man, like I'm gonna try I try not to get all emotional and shit, man. That was my guy. Mm-hmm. I've known Chef Jay since late 2016. He even chipped in and catered a couple of my events and parties like pre-COVID. Just a kind heart, soul, incredible chef, and man, like I'm just trying to keep it together right now, man. That was a tough one. So anybody who knew Chef Jay and his family and everything, man, like much love and condolences out to you guys, man. And make sure you guys check in with your people. That's all I can say, man. Like checking with your people, like if they're on your mind, man, check in with them. Make sure they're doing okay. Mm-hmm. Thanks for bringing that up, Jason.
Yes, sir.
All right, so on that note, I'm Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street, for signing off for High at 9 News, America's #1 daily news show. Can confirm last night at Anna's joint in Long Beach, we are also the global leader in trusted daily cannabis news and opinionated commentary.
That's right.
All right, so all right, big love, and Rachelle, we're gonna pop it out to you, man. You wanna take us out?
Yeah, I do. I guess I just want to say, with all the beefing happening on the political stage, just remember you can always take a toke, pop some CBD, and build a Lego.
Yes, brick by brick.